I know the Conservatives and the members opposite do not care about affordable housing. We're here to take action on it.
I'm sorry, what? Well, we got our first session here. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we got Pierre and Mark Carney squaring off in the House of Commons. Mark Carney, an absolute train wreck. He stumbles over his words. He calls Pierre Poilievre a minister. The man is out of his elements. This is no longer the minor leagues. He's having to step up to the plate with Pierre Poilievre in the majors, and he's fallen flat. Let's jump into this. We are starting this one off with a bang here. We've got Stephen McKinnon. Listen to this message he's delivering at his press conference here, blaming Pierre Poilievre for shutting down Parliament last year.
I am under no illusions about what we face with the Conservatives under the leadership of Pierre Poilievre. In the last Parliament, Mr. Poilievre's approach was far from responsible. In fact, he shut down Parliament for weeks on end last fall, as I'm sure you all remember. He thought, and hopefully no longer thinks, a bad day for the government was a good day for the opposition. But this is not how this country runs. We need more good days for Parliament.
So I noticed they've been using this language recently. A bad day for Parliament is a good day for the Conservatives. This is ridiculous. These guys got caught with a multi-$100 million scandal where they were funneling our tax dollars to well-connected insiders for green eco projects with zero accountability, zero results needed. There's a bunch of companies got millions of dollars without having to prove any reduction in CO2, their emissions, anything. This is a big green grift. These guys got caught on it. People should be going to jail. And what does he do? He blames Pierre Poilievre for them ripping off taxpayers. This is rich.
And increasingly, Canadians are of the view that a good day for Parliament is when parties work together. This
guy is so ridiculous. Here we go. So we're starting this off, Pierre Poilievre versus Mark Carney, looking at each other right in the eye across the aisle.
Position.
Let's go, Pierre.
My mother taught me never to be late, so please forgive me for my late arrival to the session. I had some meetings with extremely important people in East Central Alberta, Mr. Speaker, after which I was honored to be elected by the great people of Battle River Crowfoot.
There.
I thank the great Damien Kirk who made it possible, and I thank the Prime Minister for calling a prompt by-election. I wonder if one day he might regret that decision. But in a spirit of good faith, I wonder if he agrees that our goal should be a Canada where hard work is rewarded, where food and homes are affordable, where streets are safe, where borders are solid, and where we're all united under a proud flag.
Interesting. Pierre setting the tone here.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sure I speak for all parliamentarians in welcoming the member for Battle River Crowfoot back to the House of Commons.
Carney's like, who is that? Who on the Liberal team did that?
He may notice a few things have changed since he was here last. The largest women's caucus in Canadian history.
These guys clapping like it's a big achievement. I mean, you could make it bigger. Why don't you add more women? Why don't you have an only women's caucus? Better yet, why isn't a woman running the Liberal Party of Canada? When it comes down to it, I don't care what gender is sitting there. I want the people who are best for the job.
And a spirit of collaboration that was shown in the opening session, including in the passage of the Build Canada Act and the projet de loi du Bloc québécois en ce qui concerne.
And the Bloc's bill in terms of protecting supply management. I agree entirely with the sentiment and objectives of the Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister mentioned how much had changed, and it's true. I look around this place, and when I left, there was a Liberal Prime Minister who was making excuses about breaking promises, running massive deficits, costs, crime, chaos were all out of control. And whereas today, we have a Liberal Prime Minister breaking promises, making excuses, running massive deficits with costs, crime, and chaos out of control. Mr. Speaker, when will the Prime Minister match the grand promises with the real change Canadians need?
Mr. Speaker, I understand the Minister, or the Minister, promotion.
Former member.
Come on over. I understand the Leader of the Opposition was busy. He missed the largest tax cut for 22 million Canadians. He missed the cut on the GST for new homes. We're eliminating all federal barriers to trade. He missed. I hope I'll have another opportunity to finish a very long list of what the Leader of Opposition.
Yeah, that tax cut, $40 a month. Thanks, Carney. Thanks for nothing. So what's interesting here right away, so Pierre Poilievre, I've been cutting it out, but every other sentence here, he's going into French, and he's doing that again. But you'll notice Mark Carney does not go into French after this. He doesn't like speaking in French. He's already getting pushed on it. It's a dynamic we haven't really seen because Justin Trudeau fluent in French wasn't a problem for him.
Less, it's more, and food inflation is accelerating. He promised a budget in October, and now we'll see one maybe in November with a double deficit.
Mr. Speaker, this government has been absolutely focused on improving affordability for Canadians. That's why the largest tax cut, 22 million Canadians, every taxpayer in this country. That's why the cut to the GST. That's why the launch of Build Canada Homes, which will reduce the cost of home building in this country. That's why we back the CRTC to get broadband costs down for Canadians. We are building the strongest economy throughout the worst crisis in our history.
This is such a joke. I was at the grocery store yesterday and prices are going back up, and on things I haven't seen go up in a long time. Food inflation is spiking. The carbon tax being removed brought it down, but these liberal policies are jacking it back up. And this comes after Carney removed the taxes on food that were at the grocery store. He was tariffing food coming into Canada, making food more expensive for us. And despite that, the prices are going up. That's how bad inflation is.
In the spirit of nonpartisanship, we are simply going to hold this Prime Minister to his own promises. He promised that he would spend less. He's already spending 8% more. He promised the budget would be in October. Now he says it will be in November, more than halfway through the fiscal year. He promised that his government would have a smaller deficit than Justin Trudeau. Instead, now we hear that it might even be double. So a trivia question. Can the Prime Minister tell us, has there ever been a Prime Minister who has successfully doubled the deficit without even introducing a budget?
The right honourable Prime Minister.
It's a trick question.
Mr. Speaker, this government is undertaking the biggest investment in protecting Canadians in the Canadian military. Doubling our investment in the Canadian military from last year when this member last sat in the House by the end of this decade. This government, there's more.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
There's a lot more debt is what there is, Mr. Speaker. A lot more debt than we ever imagined would be possible. This is a Prime Minister who said we'd have the fastest growing economy in the G7. We have the fastest shrinking economy in the G7. He said grocery prices would go down. They're going up faster than ever before. He promised to create jobs. He has the second highest unemployment in the G7. He's really reminding us all of that sign at the bar, free beer tomorrow. Right. But you come back the next day and the beer is still not free, and tomorrow never comes. Mr. Speaker, why is it that all of this Prime Minister's promises of yesterday turn into today's disappointments?
Mr. Speaker, I think if we are going to build the strongest economy in the G7, and we will,
Carney is an absolute train wreck in this House of Commons session. He's stumbling over his words. He called Pierre Poilievre a minister. He can't speak fast enough to get his points out. He's stumbling and bumbling. Then he's saying stuff that is just ridiculous. I mean, look at Canada here. He's going to build us up to have the biggest GDP. We are near dead last here. At this point, we'd be lucky to just get in the middle of the pack. He thinks he's going to lift us up right to the top. And this chart you can see only goes to 2022. If you look at the more recent numbers, it's even worse. We're second last. Got this chart, it's pretty blurry, but you can see this is the past 10 years. Canada at the bottom, you're 0.5%, and America at the top. We look at this one from the Fraser Institute. This is projecting outwards from 2030 to 2060. Where's Canada? Dead last. Carney's not being realistic. He's just spouting lies to get reelected because there's going to be another election here within the next year or so.
We need to be clear. We need to be clear about the scale of the crisis we are in. We need to be clear about the scale of investment that we need. $60 billion in new projects announced last week. $200 billion in investment announced last week. $100 billion in housing investment announced just yesterday. That's the scale of what we need.
L'honorable député.
This is a train wreck. He announced 13 billion yesterday, but Mark Carney doesn't know how this works in here. 30 seconds, he's not used to speaking fast. And often when I cut these videos down for you guys when he's doing his press conferences, I cut out a bunch of his dead space between his words, just not to waste your time. I leave it in when it's important based on what he's speaking. If it's something he's nervous about or whatever, if it has no significant importance, I just cut it all out. And that's how he's used to speaking. He speaks like this with a delay and waiting for the next word. That doesn't work in the House. You have to get the facts out quick. You speak really, really, really fast. You heard Pierre there just rattling those facts off because he's a veteran in here. Carney's already stumbling over his own words, and to the left, it's going to look like he's not confident in what he's saying. Moving over to CTV here, we've got Vasi Capellos gets asked whether she can give us details on the upcoming budget. The rumor is that they're pushing this back to November now.
And Vasi, before you go, can you give us more thoughts around the budget? I feel like the Prime Minister is going to be asked, why November? Why is it going to take so long?
Well, Marcia, I wish I could. It is almost impossible to get any substantive answers from anyone. I'll be fair to any government and say usually they reserve the details for the actual budget, but they have done a lot of groundwork to try and get a narrative out there, right? It's going to be austere, but also full of investment. It's going to cut spending, but not cut any public service jobs. Like, quite simply, and I keep saying this, I'm kind of a broken record, I don't understand how the math adds up at this juncture. I know it's a politically very important document for them, but as far as like, if they will actually exercise the kind of fiscal restraint that the Prime Minister has promised, but at the same time maintain all of the program spending that they also promised they would, and increase spending on defense and on housing and whatever else they decide to invest on. I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see the way in which that happens. And as far as the date goes, it's a reflection of the complexity behind the scenes and the push and pull about how much they cut. On Friday, I was getting text messages from staffers saying, oh, even though the finance minister had promised the budget would come in October, it now looks like it might be pushed out to the first week of November. The government's House leader still said October, but like, that's what I'm hearing behind the scenes. It's proving to be the furthest thing from simple. All right.
I'm not surprised by this. They're just going to keep pushing this back, and then eventually they'll say, you know what, we'll just do the budget in April. Let's just do it then and just keep pushing it back and pushing it back, kicking that can down the road. This is coming from Mr. Genius Banker Mark Carney can't put out a budget. It's looking suspicious like the last budget the Liberal government passed. Bad news late in the year. The dog and pony show continues. So to go hand in hand with what we just saw, we've got Steve McKinnon here, CBC Watcher, posting this clip. Boom, Mike Couture, CTV, pointing out that Mark Carney's budget here, it doesn't add up. Is it an austerity budget? Is it an investment budget? Apparently it's both.
Canadians who were voting for you and Mr. Carney, who said that he will take care of the economy, and now you are clearly preparing the groundwork for a substantial deficit and austerity, things that Canadians may not have voted for last spring.
Oh, I think we were very realistic. I mean, Canadians certainly had the full financial picture for the previous fiscal year. They know what we're facing. We've been very, very clear about the investments that we intend to make, and I would challenge the premise of your question. We are dealing head-on with the major issues in our economy, whether it's diversifying trade, whether it's
of what you're telling Canadians. Austerity, that is not anything that we had heard in the campaign. And these substantial deficits, not what we heard in the campaign.
We talked about spending less and investing more. And that's exactly what we continue to talk about. The Canadians expect their tax dollars to be spent by the government with maximum impact. And maximum impact today means combating crime, means building houses, means diversifying our trade and growing the economy so that young people can find a place to prosper in Canada.
Yeah, that place doesn't exist in Canada. These rats are starting to scurry. They know the gig is up. It's a matter of time, hopefully, before Canadians figure this out, that these guys are running a green grift that it doesn't benefit anyone except them. McKinnon is such a greasy weasel. Just look at him. Yeah, he is the greasiest of all of these weasels. McKinnon looks really uncomfortable. I hope to see that more often, like every day. So this body language he had here, it is very uncomfortable. You can see just the tilt of his shoulders. He's off kilter here. He's leaning away from Michael Couture. I give him credit. He's pretty good at staying poised, barfing out lies over and over. That's why he's in this position. He's probably the best at it out of all of them. But yeah, the tone of his voice too, he was not confident with what he was saying. He knows this is a sham. There's no way that we can be making big investments and making big cuts at the same time. Not with everything that Mark Carney's promised.
Same Liberal promises, the same Liberal results. Canadians are paying the price for another Liberal Prime Minister's broken promises. This Prime Minister said to Canadians that he would be judged by prices at the grocery store. Results are in. This Prime Minister has failed. Food prices have surged 40% since the last Liberal Prime Minister broke that same promise the last time. Should this Prime Minister's promise to Canadians not be judged by food prices at the grocery store, but the number of families being forced to food banks?
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the number one cost for Canadians is their housing, and we have taken action to make housing more affordable. Yesterday,
He just asked about food prices, and you got this buffoon, Gregor Robertson, sleazeball McGee here talking about housing. Like, come on.
Prime Minister and I announced the launch of Build Canada Homes, which will be a one-stop shop for making housing more affordable across Canada. And we're launching that on 6 pieces of Canada lands, 4,000 homes that we will start building immediately. Thank you.
Okay, let's do some math here. So their announcement was to build 4,000 homes really quickly. And I see a lot of people on the right on Twitter doing this math where if you got 13.5 billion, 4,000 homes, it works out to be $3 million per house. They actually announced $25 billion earlier, so that math doesn't quite add up like that. But regardless, so what we have here, I've showed this before, Canada's population clock. This is a real-time counter of our population. And right now, the Liberals have been bringing in a lot of people this year. They're already surpassing their targets. We've got roughly around 1,148 people per day coming in as permanent residents, 828 per day student permits. TFW are 581 and 1,671 for the mobility work program. Putting that for the first half of the year, that's 207,000 permanent residents, 149,000 for study permits, 105,000 for TFWs, and 302,000 for the mobility program. Well, what does that work out to be per day? That's 4,200 people per day that are coming into Canada. So them announcing 4,000 new homes is going to change everything. It won't change anything. That's 1 day's worth of people coming into Canada. And sure, not all of those people are going to stay, but even if you say half or even a third, so what, 3 days worth of people coming into Canada you've got homes for now with this huge program, multi-billion-dollar program? The system is broken. We have to shut the doors. We need to start kicking people out.
Canadians can't afford to put food on the table, let alone pay for the Liberals' bureaucracy when it comes to housing. But let's be clear. This was the Prime Minister's promise. These were the Prime Minister's words. This is the Prime Minister's failure. Food prices are going to go up $700 per Canadian family this year. Canned soup is up 26%, apples 14%, tuna 19%. The daily essentials have become unaffordable. Is sticker shock at the grocery store the experience that this Prime Minister promised Canadians?
Wow.
As far as promises delivered goes, this government promised to launch Build Canada Homes and make the largest investment in affordable housing in Canadian history. We are taking action where it matters most.
They're taking actions where it's going to enrich their own bank accounts. Even if you ask AI about Mark Carney's plans here as Prime Minister, and if it thinks it will enrich his own bank account with all his investments in Brookfield and all that, it says yes. It says most likely. This is not hocus pocus theory here.
Cost of food has risen overall more than inflation every single month that this Prime Minister has been here. Canadians should judge the Prime Minister by his words. That's only fair. But is it that he never shops for food, or is it that he thinks inflation is something that happens to other people?
Listen to this. Gregor Robertson out to lunch.
Come back to the number one cost for Canadians and concern is around affordability of housing.
That's so true.
I know the Conservatives and the members opposite do not care about affordable housing. We're here to take action on it.
I'm sorry, what? This is coming from the government that increased housing prices by 200-300%. You could rent a place for $1,200 a month when Pierre was the housing minister under Stephen Harper. And these guys are saying it's the Conservatives that have raised the housing prices. Like, these guys just make up garbage. We need to have a law that if they lie, $5,000 fine. We need to have an officer walk over to him right now and write him a ticket for $5,000 and give it to him while this is happening live. It has to be embarrassing like that.
Make life more affordable for Canadians, starting with their homes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Good work. Chrystia Freeland, how is she still there?
The Minister cannot ignore the problem of millions of Canadians using a food bank every single month. And that hasn't changed. It happened under these under this Liberal government's watch. And now they're making excuses or changing the subject entirely. Canadians are getting fleeced at the grocery store, and it's only going to get worse because next year their bill will be $700 higher per family. That's another Liberal broken promise, another Liberal bait and switch by another Liberal Prime Minister. So is that the experience that he's now promising Canadians?